Hello, my name is Will Chirinos. I'm a student at the elite Gordon Ford College of Business at Western Kentucky University. And today I would like to introduce the project that I've been working on for the past couple of days, the final project for BA 513, Information Tech and Data Analytics. So I'd like to take this opportunity not only to submit my project, but also to potentially educate some friends and family on some things related to coronavirus, as well as data analytics and how we can use information from both of them, uh, information from data analytics to derive knowledge and analysis as it relates to coronavirus, a very real current event right now. So what I did is I went to the CDC's website and downloaded raw data that was current as of yesterday. So I did that using 3 different spreadsheets, and one of the spreadsheets is from the World Health Organization. So you can see here I've got 4 different spreadsheets, about a total of 30,000 lines of data here. This one, let's see, this one here. So it's quite a bit. One of the things that I've learned from this course is that data is only as useful as the analysis that you can derive from it. So if I'm looking at this data here on the Excel sheet, I've got 10,000 rows of it. I certainly can't go line by line and try and figure out what's going on with the data just by looking at it. So I've got to use a tool. I've got to figure out how I can do this. And one of the things that we learn in the class is an application called Tableau, where you can basically go on there and visualize data using this powerful tool, and then basically just keep going down different levels of analysis, different rabbit holes, if you will, and try and figure out what's going on. So that's what I did. So I started from the most macro level that I could at the World Health Organization level, and I went, downloaded the spreadsheet, again, tens of thousands of lines of data on COVID deaths worldwide. So I wanted to figure out first, what's the top 10 countries by COVID death count? I figured out, unfortunately, the United States is the largest when it comes to death count, of the total being 737,417. So going further off of that, I wanted to narrow my search to the United States. So what I did is, you hear a lot of things on the news about how older people are most vulnerable as it relates to coronavirus, but you don't ever really hear a whole lot of specifics on that. So what I wanted to do is try and figure it out and try and see if I could visualize this in the best way that I could. And I think I landed on something. So I used a tree map here, again, with that same data. This one here is actually from the CDC. So this is CDC data that was broken down by state and by age, but this visualization is just broken down by age. So you can see there, U.S. COVID-19 deaths as by share of portion. Those who are older than 75 years have the largest share, a total of 86,897, which is 58.23% of that total, being 148,000. But one thing I want to address real quick is that according to the World Health Organization, it's 162,000, and then according to the CDC, it's 148,000, and that lag is likely due to bureaucratic processes and death certificates, things like that. But for all intents and purposes, the two are close, and we can just assume that the CDC data is slightly behind. So again, 75 years old is the largest portion of the total U.S. COVID-19 death counts, followed by 65 to 74, and then closely by 45 to 64 at 17%. So you can see it basically goes down from the oldest population to the youngest, with the 2 smallest ones being from 0 to 4 with only 104 deaths, and then 5 to 18 with 224 deaths. So breaking down further, I wanted to see where these people, what locations the people were dying at. Because during the beginning of this, there was a lot of talk of flattening the curve and problems dealing with hospital space. And that has certainly been confirmed, at least as far as I'm concerned, with the data, because as you can see, a portion of U.S. COVID-19 deaths of the 148,972, 95,000 and a total of 64% of them have died in healthcare settings or in inpatient So healthcare inpatient settings. So that's like somebody being in a hospital under inpatient care and they died there. So certainly you can tell that hospitals were definitely very busy for a while and still are. Next is nursing homes or long-term care facilities. Again, that correlates with the older populations having a high risk. The next is home, and then emergency room, outpatient or emergency room care, hospice, and then other. And then the smallest is a place of death unknown with 52. So going further into that, going further in depth from just the age breakdowns of the people that were dying from coronavirus, I wanted to see what other conditions were associated with those deaths. So you've often heard the fact that coronavirus hasn't killed too many people, just the virus itself, but it's also due to something else that is related to it. And this breakdown here is a good indicator of why data visualization is so useful, because it makes it very obvious to the user what stands out and what doesn't. So just based on this visualization, which is again pulled directly from the CDC and put into this really powerful program, you can see here that the largest group of conditions related to coronavirus was the 85-year-old and up with respiratory diseases. So that's what stands out immediately, is things like this: 85 and up with respiratory diseases. You can see that 10.44% of that total number of US deaths is related to 85-year-old and up with respiratory diseases, circulatory diseases, and then 75-year-old to 84 with respiratory diseases. So you see all these things, and then you see really small ones here, like from 0 to 24-year-olds, all other conditions and residual causes. You see something like sepsis and 0.03% associated with COVID-19 deaths. So following off of that, you can go even more into depth, which is what I did, and I created what's called a heat map. So the heat map basically ranks, it organizes them into age groups and then groups of conditions associated with COVID-19 deaths. And you can see here obesity, for example. So in obesity that was cited in deaths, from ages 75 to 84, 571 people died, or 12.15% of total. Let's see here, that doesn't quite look right. Okay, that's an easy fix. Look, that's the easy fix. Here's what we can do. We'll go to the heat map here, and we will click this clear table calculation, and then what we'll do is go into tooltip, and we will get rid of that percent of total, because that, for whatever reason, is not correct. So we'll back to the story, and you can see the update is automatic. So it'll just give us the number. The percentage, unfortunately, we cannot quite figure out right now, but let's go back to that. So doesn't matter. The rest of the numbers are still correct. 85-year-olds and up with 41 or with respiratory diseases made up 41,881 of coronavirus US deaths. The next is 75 to 84-year-olds with respiratory diseases, and circulatory diseases comes next. So this, again, we've gone from this data here, tens of thousands of rows of it, of just numbers and letters, and we've made it into a product that is really easy to understand and really gives us a lot of insight into data. And this is especially useful for decision makers, policy makers, or people who might just want to know more or do some more research. So, thank you very much.